Hello and welcome to Season 2, Episode 3 of the Enthusiasm Project. My name is Tom, and today I've got an interesting sort of journey to take you on with me. Basically, things that have developed over the past week that I'm super excited about, that I've been sort of mulling over. I've got a giant page of notes, and I also have a very special guest back with me. I don't know how many times this is. Heather Ramirez. Yay. How are you, Heather?
Good. How are you, Thomas?
I am good. What's been going on? Last time you were here on the first episode of this season where we talked about like why you would want to start a business and things like that. And then last week I sort of talked about preparation meets opportunity, and that's what makes luck. And so it's good to be prepared for things. And this week we're kind of diving into something else. But what's new in your world?
What's new? It's Thanksgiving. Do people know that?
Well, they're not going to be listening to this on Thanksgiving, but we're recording this on Thanksgiving.
Yes, we are. We have lasagna happening on the stove right now.
Yeah, that traditional Thanksgiving vegetarian lasagna. Thank you for indulging me with that. Anything else exciting with your channels, with your work, with your whatevers?
Not really, just staying the course. About to hit the road to 1K here on the tutorial channel.
But that's pretty cool. If anyone's ever started a channel, getting to 100 and 1,000 kind of seems impossible.
Very special milestones.
Yeah. I mean, you've done it multiple times for yourself and for other people, but it's a journey.
It's still
like
special.
Every single time it's a journey. So speaking of journeys, this week, what was the journey I went on? So let me tell you about this guy named Eric. And his name's Eric Wen. And last week I got a message from Eric that just said, hey, do you have time for like a video call this week? I want to talk to you about your channel. Or he wanted to talk to me about his channel and wanted insight from me. And then I felt very special because I was like, oh my gosh, someone thinks I have insight and like strategy and stuff. And Eric he has a channel that's just under his name, Eric Wen. He basically promotes the idea of communication and self-awareness, critical analysis, thinking more deeply. It's pretty interesting. He's sort of been developing his style over the past, year and a half or so. But he seems to have like really hit a stride. His most recent video at the time we're recording this it's titled, How Long Does It Take Matt D'Avella to Get to the Point? And he basically goes through and looks at YouTuber intros and kind of asks the question, like, why am I bored with a video after 10 seconds? And why can someone like Matt D'Avella take 3 or 4 minutes before he even starts talking about the topic of his video and I'm not bored with it? And so how people structure their intros, how people are communicating, all the stuff that goes around it. It's really interesting. So he sort of just takes these things that we've all probably noticed and just thinks about them a little more critically and then develops like theories and hypotheses around those. So he's super cool. We met last summer at VidCon in person, and he's also one of the admins for the Facebook group, the No Small Creator Facebook group, which is a cool group of people that we've been a part of for like a year and a half now. It's channels of all sizes, all genres, and just sort of like a support community, skill building group on Facebook. So Eric's kind of all over that. And I was pretty flattered when he was like, hey, I'm, trying to take new strategy with my channel and I'd love some feedback and input. And we did a call. And the thing is, we talked about his channel for, 20 or 30 minutes. And then we spent 45 minutes or something just talking about mine. And it was like the video creators consult that I did last summer, which I made a podcast episode about. It was $200 to have someone analyze my channel. This was as good, if not better than that. And I didn't expect it. I was totally blindsided by it. And it basically started with him saying, I really love your channel, but it feels like you have all the pieces are there and something is missing. And so we kind of dove into the thing that is missing, that crucial thing that I don't think I'm alone in missing it. I think I have felt the same way. Like there's just something that's not quite here, but I didn't know what it was. And I think other people kind of struggle with the same sort of thing. And I think it was kind of a key component. And the way that Eric put it together was that he can watch 4 or 5 videos. And the reason you watch them isn't necessarily because you want to I have to know everything about this Rodecaster or this microphone or this camera or whatever. There's something else. There's a feeling, there's a tone, there's a whatever it is and you kind of understand that after watching 4 or 5 videos, but he and I both agreed if you can just take that feeling that someone's going to get after 4 or 5 videos and clearly and concisely give that to them like directly in the first video they see, it's going to just help everything kind of grow and skyrocket. And so that was basically where we kind of talked to, where we went through. And then I have a whole page of notes. I don't know if I should go through my notes now, because it was after this conversation that then I ran out and I was like, I had the best phone call ever. And then you ended up talking to me and kind of giving your own analysis for like another hour. And so I ended up with like hours of consultations that I didn't expect that day. And
well, you asked me a question that you've never asked me before. And it was, if I were one of your consultation clients, you know, what would you say to me?
Yeah, I was like,
I can't believe you never asked that. I always wonder, I'm like, hello, I'm always here. And I don't want to like tell you what I think you should do all the time.
Well, I don't want to take advantage of,
You're not
like
taking advantage, silly.
Well, anyway, we had our, it was sort of what Eric and I kind of stumbled across was the idea that nothing necessarily needs to change, because I'm happy with like the videos that I'm making. I like them. I'm having a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying it. I've got a book full of ideas of stuff that I want to make, and growth has been pretty good. But what could be done to sort of like even take that to the next level? And that's kind of what we thought. If we just take the same thing that I'm doing, but just clearly explain it to someone, like what is happening here, they're going to connect to it more clearly. And then you put your finger directly on that in a much more like concise way when we had our thing, because you identified exactly what I think that missing piece is. I'm teasing it.
So what's the missing piece?
I don't know. What was the missing piece?
I don't know. How are you phrasing it?
Well, okay. It's oh my gosh, the big reveal. The missing piece that we talked about was community, a sense of community. And you were asking like, well, do you get the same people watching your videos? And I was like, yeah, there's a handful of people that'll pop up and leave comments and talk to me about stuff on every single video. That's kind of cool, but there wasn't like a direct community. And you told me that if I can, would you say, you said hold the baton for a group of people, then that's going to be the thing that binds people together. And I thought that was really interesting. And then you're doing stuff right now on your channel about community and community building. I don't know why. Like, why is community? Why do I, in a platform where I'm just posting my stuff for people to see? Why is it important to have a community?
Well, I think this goes back to the essence of what a brand is. And I think no matter what platform that you're on, whatever platform that you're creating content for or about and all of that, I think people, when they subscribe, especially long term, it's because they're opting in to being a part of your community. And there's a sense of unity because they either relate to you or to the other people who are watching you, or they have a goal that you are helping them try to achieve. And so all the other subscribers then in turn have that same goal, where you create this like supportive platform to unite everybody. So I think it's a 2-part thing, where it's a branding and it is creating that sense of community, but to do it in a way where it is part of your brand, where everything about your channel, including your introductions, is like, this is why you would want to be a part of this bigger thing that goes beyond a single video.
Right.
Because if we're just making fun videos, then let's go on TikTok, but like, why this? Why are you doing this? At the end of the day, your tagline is make a video, make an impact. So what's the impact that you're trying to make, and how are you helping others do that same thing? And I don't think there's a right or wrong way. I think
there's probably wrong ways.
I think there's, I don't think it should be something where you have to be like, hi, I'm Tom's The Enthusiasm Project. Here's my entire like mission statement.
Right.
But just a quick, like, that's a thing that you're going to have to test and figure out. But I think Eric's right. And just being able to kind of really quick introduce the concept of like, this is why you would want to be a part of this. How
it fits into like a bigger thing. But it was so interesting for me, because it was kind of a light bulb, because you've talked about community before, and you've talked about your various channels as, like over the years, they've had a strong sense of community and then not as strong, and it kind of comes and goes based on, what direction you're taking the channel at the time. but I had always looked at community as that. Like, who are those people? Like, but looking at it from the point of view of someone who watches a lot of YouTube videos, like if I go to a channel that I really love and I get excited when they upload and I go into their comments and I like read other people's comments and I leave them, leave my own. I don't even know who the other people are. Like, I really don't pay attention to usernames. You're like, oh, it's that guy that was in the last video and we talked. Like, no, it just sort of knew every time. So I think I was misunderstanding part of what community could mean on YouTube, which doesn't necessarily mean that it's like an old school message board or like a Discord server where everyone knows each other and is talking, and it's not like that, but it's just sort of, it's almost like a weirder way, a different way of looking at like target audience or niche audience, where it's the community is the people that connect to this thing so specifically that they want to just be around it or be associated with it or get more of it because they identify with it so much, not necessarily that they're all also getting to like know each other and talk to each other. And that I just hadn't been looking at it that way, and I hadn't been focusing on it like actively at all or cultivating it at all. And I think that was not a smart thing to do.
I thought it was super weird that like you were trying to do this community post and you were so paranoid about it. And just, the other side of the coin is back in the day, I never second guessed. Like, it was just like talking to my audience was so natural. I never really had to plan it. I was always planning like how to grow, how to reach new people, but talking to the people that were there, it was like talking to you. It was just very, it's not something you really have to think about. So I think, it might not even be something that you have to directly push, like, okay, this is my brand and here's my tagline and this is why you guys are all going to watch now and whatever. But maybe like, I think just sharing more about who you are and being more personal in terms of like, let you get to know me so I can get to know you.
How do you balance that? How do you balance that with one of the strengths I think of my videos is that they get to the point. If it's a tutorial on whatever, like we just sort of jump in 30 seconds in, you're in the middle of it. How do you balance kind of like the audience need and demand for like, just get to the point with, hey, also let's get to know each other? Because like how?
I think there's there's so many ways to do it, but the thing I'm thinking about, well, a lot of your videos are search based. So because they're so specific to a product or a technique or, I think most people who find your videos are typing in something into YouTube and they're getting your video as an answer or insight or probably a different perspective. So what I would suggest is just folding in little pieces of your, you already do it, but maybe leaning into it more of like, you try to be clever with putting a joke here or making something entertaining here in your way and in your style. So maybe like, maybe I always love it when Ben's on the couch in the background of my videos. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm a dog lover, I love dogs, I have dogs, blah, blah, blah. And that gives you some insight. It's not even a planned thing, but it's just part of it. So maybe just like slowly, your room becomes a character. Okay, why? Like, who are these guys that are all over your wall? Talking a little bit about that and just, or maybe in your examples or maybe in your, you're a teacher, you know how to do this, like folding in just like stories of your life where if people continue to watch more than one video, there is now a story associated with the characters that are in there, where if you it's like Mark and James, if Mark is out, something's wrong, and without having to explain every time, this is my husband, here's the backstory. No, it's just like, it's just part of the ethos, the brand of, your channel.
Right. You're talking about our friends, Mark and James, who have a mukbang channel together.
Yeah.
And if one of them isn't there, it's chaos.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right. And
so I think like, it's like Mr. Rogers. Okay. If the train isn't there or the fish tank is missing,
right.
Oh my gosh, he did something out of order, maybe something like that where it's just there's a thing that you do, a shtick, there's like
almost like a structure or like a component that's just
that starts to become like a character, that's part of the story.
Right. This is interesting.
And that that's creative too, because now it's not, you don't have to change, you don't have to spend all this time away from the main meat and content of your videos. It's something that you would draw like a parallel through multiple videos. But I think maybe when you structure your videos, it's just like, what's the one thing that I can put in that sheds a little bit more light in terms of like who I am? Because I think I haven't watched that many Peter McKinnon videos, but I think from what I've seen, he was so good about like, okay, I love coffee. That's part of my personality. Here's my house, like, and whatever.
Right.
Like
just lean into
like I have long hair, so here's my long hair. Like, like how different he was.
Right. That's true. But it has to be like, you have to keep it authentic, because otherwise people are going to sniff out that it's inauthentic.
Right, but I really don't think you're capable of inauthenticity.
Oh God, that'd be terrible.
I don't think you are. I don't think that you can try to. I don't think that's something you need to worry about. But I think I think trying to do more of what you do best, person to person, face to face.
What do I do best?
Like trying to be, okay, if you're a teacher, you obviously you're really good at capturing attention. Obviously you're really good at like being conversational. Obviously you're really good at like hitting a point home and stuff like that. Like, I don't know, like trying to do more of that in the Tom way.
Right.
He's taking notes right now.
I am taking notes. You can probably hear my writing. So you're currently building your, like, you kind of refer to it as like a tutorial based channel.
Yeah.
Which is youtube.com/sharesparkmedia.
Yes.
And what is the main focus of those tutorials? So
my thing is that I want to help people build their brands and grow their businesses using YouTube. So I mostly see it as online entrepreneurs, probably more service-based. So like coaches, consultants, advisors, or some kind of like, you're probably going to schedule some time with me to pick my brain. I also have a very soft spot for personal brands, because that's what I did, right? So like I'm sharing my story, or here is my story, or here's the obstacle, adversity thing that I overcame. So now you're going through it. Here's how I'm going to help you do that. And then turning that into a brand that creates opportunities that you're able to monetize, etc. So there is a, it's people from all over, but there is that thing that unites them in terms of, they're not necessarily, hey, let's hang out and join a Facebook group.
Right.
But it's like, if someone's like,
there's a goal that they're trying to achieve.
Even with your channel, like, oh, this camera setting is it, or this 3D printer setting is not, and then someone could be like, oh, okay,
right,
that's something to look out for.
Right. And then you have your, I guess now it's like a second channel, but it was sort of the first channel, which is youtube.com/
Heather Just Create.
Heather Just Create. Okay. That channel is bigger, but you've been focusing more on the ShareSpark channel for business purposes, but on your Heather Just Create channel, which was sort of the one you started back in 2016 to document, like or you started it before you even quit your job. Mm-hmm. So as you were in the process of quitting your job, starting a business, it was very personal. How did you go? Because when you started, no one was there, right? Like you started just like everyone else. There's upload a video, no one watches it, and there's no comments and whatever. And you did a lot of live streaming, but by the time we met, you'd been doing it for a year and a half at that point almost. And there was a pretty solid like community there, like people who were rooting for you and people who would show up for every live stream. And you, like, how did you cultivate that from nothing?
It happened so organically. And if I look back, and especially knowing that I'm a marketer, it sounds so, calculated and methodical and planned out, but it really wasn't. I think it goes back to me really honing in on the thing that unites every single human being on the planet. And it's just like, we're all trying to overcome something. And I think just to see someone else in a vulnerable position that still was, we're going to keep going. It doesn't matter what your thing is. It doesn't matter whether you're trying to build a business. It's like you can resonate with someone who's doing something admirable. I don't know if you can translate this to your channel, but one thing that really worked for me was just, I think the more vulnerable I was, the easier it was for everyone to kind of relate to that. So what I would see as the equivalent is like, this is where you are now.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not, I don't need to cry on my channel, but.
Yeah, but like, hey, you're trying to make a better video. So
Right.
like, here's an example. On my tutorial channel, I did a video about how to make square videos for social media using Final Cut Pro. The fatal mistake I made with that video is I did not show the square video at the beginning.
Oh.
This is what you're trying to make, and right now you're at 0. I didn't establish a starting point.
Got you.
So I think like honing in on like, you know, when I loved your intro, obviously it's like my favorite one of your most recent video about your MacBook Pro, but maybe you did a funny thing of like you're working on your old laptop and it's like so slow, so you end up like pounding it, or you're doing something like silly like that, of just like, oh my god, I can't like this is what I'm working with, and like showing the after of like, oh my god, I can edit all these videos.
Like
oh
a
my
bad
god,
infomercial. It's all black and white. And then like
something like that, but making it so that people,
Right.
you are showing that you relate to the people that are watching you.
Right. Okay. I like this.
So showing more of like, yeah, like the podcast mic. Okay, here's the, you know, here's the rig that I was working with before, but now, oh my gosh, it's this whole new beautiful thing.
I like, because that puts the why behind why do you even care about this
Yeah.
stuff in the first place. Like, other than that, it looks cool and it's fun, but like, what is the purpose? And like, I understand where you're coming from.
And maybe shedding like more light in terms of like, why did you learn this in the first place? Where does it fit in your bigger picture? Because then it'll, you know, chances are you're basically talking to people who are you
Right.
6 months ago, you know?
Yeah.
So like, if you were making this video,
We got special guests.
if you're making this video for, you know, or you're trying to learn this because you thought it was cool, you saw it somewhere, or, you know, you want to try to incorporate it, just saying that, hey, we watched this anime
Yeah.
and they did this real cool thing. Here's the scene. And, you know, here's how I did this shot.
Right.
And you could end up, like, honestly, your channel could just feed itself because you're just talking about other videos that are already on your channel. You know, like, here's
Just
how I did
use all
this
the-
effect.
all
Yeah.
the ones. Well, that's one of my favorite things. Like Film Riot, I talk about all the time. They're one of my favorite channels. They've been around for like 10 years. And at this point, all the crew of Film Riot, they have their own offices, their own production. They're doing like full-on feature films. When they started, they were just like kids figuring stuff out. And the whole tagline was like, you want to be a filmmaker? So do I. Let's figure it out. And I like the, like, we don't know either. So like we are figuring it out with you. But one thing they do really well is they'll work really hard on short film or a sketch or whatever. And then they'll do the like kind of behind the scenes videos, but more than just behind the scenes, like tutorials. So, you know, like here's a short film that has this crazy special effect. And now following it up, here's a video about how we did that special effect. And it's just like everything is connected in a really more coherent and like interesting way. That is smart. This is where like I wish I had the time to do more than one video a week. I would love to do like 2 a week in an ideal world, 3, and just like, but God, the burnout would be ridiculous.
I don't think it would be. I don't think the burnout would be ridiculous. You just don't have the time.
It's more, well, yeah, that's what I mean. The burnout from, not burnout of not wanting to do it, but burnout of like, I'm not doing anything else but like making videos and going to work and I'll be a crazy person. And that's a bummer.
Yeah, I know, but it doesn't matter how frequently you're uploading. You could still.
No, I know, but it's, you know, it's just being able to like be, you know, here's a thing on Tuesday and now I'm going to explain more about it on Thursday and it's all connected. And then next week we kind of come in where it just sort of keeps things going. Whereas once a week is very manageable, but it is like, by the time the next video comes out, I was like, what was last week's video? Like, what was the last thing we were talking about? I don't remember. And then, you know, I don't know. I don't know. That's more of an issue of like hours in the day and maintaining personal sanity, I guess. But one of the other things, so this is sort of part one of our, like the discussion I had with Eric that led into the discussion with you, and you talked about, you know, we were trying to do taglines and figure out all the kind of stuff that we talked about right now. But one of the things that was really interesting that I talked to Eric about was just sort of in like a roundabout way. This isn't exactly what he said, but he was like, it took a while. He's not doing YouTube full time. His channel's 1,500 subscribers, but it's growing like pretty rapidly. He has this like a really solid foundation. There's a good library that's already there. It's kind of one of those things like if he really commits to it, how can it not grow and not succeed? And he's currently like a freelance video production guy. And just sort of like looking ahead, going like, well, maybe like I could devote more energy to this thing over here. But being honest with himself about like, I want this to succeed and I need to put time into it was sort of, it sounds really simple, but it was kind of like a breakthrough moment. And last night you and I were talking about, because I was doing a thing where I saw that Matt Davella's wife launched her website, and I was like, oh, look, like she did a whole thing. She had quit her job last summer and spent a bunch of time developing something, and she has like a brand consultation company service thing. And then you and I were talking about service-based stuff. And you're like, I don't think you would like service-based. And I was like, yeah, I mean, like I do service-based right now. I'd rather just service-based like my high school students because it's really rewarding and like it's already what I'm doing. So service-based would be something else. So in the whole scheme of like starting a business, I think it's important that I am honest with myself that like a YouTube channel is kind of a big part of it. And last week I talked about like, well, I need to like find ways to handle these revenue streams and stuff, which is true. But it's also like it would kind of end up being a cornerstone of whatever that is right now. And I don't have the clear picture and I feel dumb because I don't. But I think it's important that like I admit to myself, like, yes, you want this to be a thing that becomes something bigger. And like, I don't know, I'm scared to admit that. So this is my support group.
You've always been scared to admit that, which is so weird because you have your biggest fan who's like waiting, counting down to the day that you quit your job.
Well, that's not. We don't want to jump super far ahead, but the important thing is looking ahead. Years from now, I don't want to keep doing what I'm doing because I have to.
Right.
Like if I'm teaching high school students in a classroom, especially like that job specifically, I want that to be because that is the thing that I want to do. And I'm waking up in the morning, that's the number one thing. I want to do that. Like that's really important, which is why I think it's also important to explore these other things because right now I don't feel like 20 more years of high school teaching is the thing that's going to make me happy. It can be rewarding and fulfilling, but I think I'm also just going to be jaded and burn out pretty quickly. And stuff changes along the way, so you can't really predict it, but that's why it's such a drive to me to like try to create something else on the side, just so even if I end up realizing that where I'm at is exactly where I want to be or whatever, but just starting something else is really important for just that kind of like personal happiness, satisfaction, protection. I think forward.
This goes back to like the thing that brought us together, which is digital literacy. I think the fact
everybody's favorite super sexy topic.
The fact that we can have, create the fact that we can do this is like, why not? Like why wouldn't you create multiple streams of income when you can? And it's about something like it's something that's relatively easy. And in my opinion, you stay the course, do any extra effort that you have, just build your YouTube channel. You have a super stable, very fulfilling, rewarding, and has relatively a lot of flexibility. It's a great gig. Mm-hmm. So while you have that, do, any extra effort that you have is just I don't think that you should worry so much about trying to like build this whole business plan or anything like that. I think, I wouldn't recommend that to everyone else, but I think with you, it's like you really, for your channel, you really do have all these pieces to create a very unique brand. And I think it's the brand that's gonna create the monetization opportunities versus you having to create them. So like, I always say, oh, okay, you can create a product now. If you create an online course right now, I'd be 100% confident that it would be a success. But also I think that your channel has the potential to be one of these big ones, and I think that if you created a course now versus when you create a course when you have 50,000 subscribers, like, I think because you have the freedom of being able to wait, you have the freedom of time, which I don't.
I know it's a luxury.
Yeah, exactly. So that's I think if you have, it's all this creative energy, all this, the luxury of time, I think just do what you can to make, to have as much fun with your videos and your channel. Clearly it's working. If you stayed the course exactly the way that you are, it's not like you're gonna, not grow. You're going to continue to grow at this point. But I think, it's really good that you're getting other people's feedback. You're brainstorming. You're constantly trying to just tip the scale a little bit more, because we all know how growth can happen on YouTube just in a freaking flash.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What do you mean time is a luxury? And for a person who feels like there's no time, how can time be a luxury?
Well, I mean, we talk about this a lot. I have a different perspective on it, but I feel like I have no time, right? I feel like
but I also feel like I have no time. But I think it's different.
It's different, yeah. For me, it's like I don't have financial runway. Like the lack of a stable, steady income
So you're talking
makes
about
it so that I don't have the time.
time to figure things out and the time to just test and...
Yeah, because you can, when you're building a brand like this and you're creating digital content, you're not making money right now to do it. No one's paying you to do it, which is unfortunate.
Right.
And, there's different ways that you can brainstorm on how you can monetize from day one. But I also think that with a large audience and a brand that's brought to life over time and over just a lot of content, no one can argue that. Like, that's an asset. That's huge. That's so big,
Well, it's also, I mean, what I was thinking about earlier, actually today, I was like, oh man, one of the best things I could do for my program, because I was thinking about like time and not having any time. And one of the things I don't do is I don't ever work on my own stuff during the workday. So like just contractually, it's not allowed. It's an ethical gray area. I don't want to even touch that thing. So when I'm at work, I'm at work. When I'm out of work, then I focus on my stuff. But I was thinking like, oh man, one of the smartest things to do for my program would really be to like, we have a YouTube channel where we have a couple, like one is for a live daily broadcast we do, and the other's just sort of like kind of a demo of student work. I was like, if I really tried to build that into a YouTube channel, like where we're doing vlogs and videos and all this kind of stuff, like that would be very unique. It would be I think it'd be really successful. It'd be an awesome portfolio piece. But the reason that I don't want to do that is because it's going to take time and energy, and it's investing in something else. Even though it's my program, even though like I direct it, there's so many things that I'm not in charge of. Like, if the state of California passes a budget thing that I have zero control over, and even the people at my school and district have no control over, suddenly like what I'm doing is not a priority anymore. It just goes away. Or if there's a shift in like management or administration, or there's just so many things that aren't, I don't think it's wise to make
your control
that heavy of an investment in something that's not totally under my ownership. And that's why I would love to shift more of my energy and effort into something that is completely under my control, because I think that's just the better investment, the investment in yourself.
One thing that you should do, Tom, you can do.
What is one thing I can do?
You've already done this on your YouTube channel, but one of the things that I suggested was to get feedback. Open up the conversation channel to your viewers and your podcast listeners and to anyone who interacts with your brand, and just be like, hey, we got, like you said, you got this time off, Thanksgiving, you're reflective, you're being reflective, you're trying to be more strategic. Why do you subscribe? Why do you listen? Why do you watch? What do you think? What's your input?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the community helps shape the brand. It's the perception of you.
Well, yeah, just like with students, I know they're forced to be there. That's a big difference. Like, literally kind of locked in a room, and I just have to make it as painless as possible for them. But, I understand where they're coming from, where their skills are, where their needs are, and then I can adapt to adjust that. And the more that I understood that about people who come to the channel, the better I could adapt to that.
A lot of the people that I follow that are like super business or they're so good about they have surveys, they always have an open-ended question. They're so good about just cultivating that. And I think really it is, I know we're like two different worlds.
Yeah.
But I think there's a way that you can do it.
I think there's a way to do both. I would love feedback. So if you have feedback, like, to reach out to me at SodaRTom. All the links are in the description of this podcast. I'm Tom at enthusiasmproject.com. But I don't know if we've ever talked about this, actually. When I started teaching digital media, I took over a pathway from a teacher who'd been there for a long time. He kind of left early in the school year one year, and he was like, beloved, and he left. And then I showed up, and everybody hated me because the beloved teacher left. And then things were going pretty well. Like, I kind of shifted around. They saw I wasn't out to destroy anything and that we could do new stuff. And, kids were really liking it. And so after like half the year, I did like a survey for the students. And honestly, it was mostly fine. But it was just harsh enough where I was like, I'm never doing a survey.
I know,
again.
but again, it's a different audience. That audience doesn't want to be there. They're
I
not
know.
voluntarily opting in. These people are like, no one has to listen to this podcast. You make a huge point about the fact that you don't promote this. You don't look at the numbers. If anyone's listening to this and they're still listening to this, 36 minutes in, you guys.
Yeah, if you are, that's true. If you made it this far, first of all, thank you so much. I love you. Second, yes, let me know thoughts and feedback.
Like jump on Twitter. Tom is like responsive. He responds to absolutely everything. So jump on Twitter, jump on Instagram, shoot him a DM, just be like, yo.
It's true. My Catholic guilt prevents me from ignoring things. So, I mean, that would be if there's...
You have the power to help shape the brand of the Enthusiasm Project.
So project your enthusiasm.
Exactly.
Well, thank you.
And then what we can do is a future episode on all the feedback that you get.
I would love to have some feedback. I've thought about doing I'll do a Q&A video, but I don't think I'd have any Q's to A at the moment.
I think you should do a live stream one day.
Maybe for 10,000. I'm trying to figure out something fun to do for that. But, I can just do a live stream anytime. Speaking of live streams.
Yes.
Now that I have all this stuff to think about, the missing piece, community, how community is an important component to building my channel, and the fact that I'm more willing to admit that building my channel is something that I do want to focus on, not just for personal fulfillment, but also for monetary and business reasons. I have a lot to think about.
Yes.
But one thing people should also think about, it's time for my Gear of the Week segment, which is just totally a non-sponsored look at just stuff that I'm super excited about and interested in, and stuff that I think would be helpful based on who I think listens to this podcast. And the thing that I'm super excited about this week is something I haven't heard many people talk about. I'm going to be putting together a whole in-depth video on this thing because it is amazing. And it's called the Cam Link. Wait, what is it called? I had it here and then I lost it. Elgato Cam Link 4K. So if you do any sort of streaming anything, the brand Elgato is they're up there. They kind of make a little bit of everything. They make little switchers for video. They do lights. They have I made a video actually about their product that lets you record VHS tapes to your hard drive. It's pretty awesome. This sounds, again, totally sponsored, and it's not. Not that I wouldn't want it to be, but it's not. But they make this thing.
Sponsor him.
Yes, please, Elgato. Here's the thing, though. Here's the pain point. So you're talking about using a slow computer earlier. I have been using this thing, and I'm sorry, Blackmagic Design, but this thing is total garbage. It's like the Studio Mini recorder. Basically, if you want to stream, you need to get video into your computer. And so you have an HDMI source that goes into a converter. The converter goes in your computer, and then you have the video signal. I have this mini recorder at home, and I also use it at work. And we have several of them at work. They are all garbage in the same way that they are just super unreliable. When they work great. They do a terrific job. But getting them to actually just show a stupid signal is impossible. There's 3 different software apps you have to open up. It's a nightmare. Everybody dreads using it. So Elgato shows up with this thing called the Cam Link. It looks like a flash drive. It's a USB flash drive, but in the back of it is an HDMI port. And so you can take your camera or your switcher, any video source, whatever, and you put it in there, and then you plug the thing in your computer, and it's just plug and play. Your camera will just show up as a source. It's amazing. So whether you're using OBS, or I've even used it on a FaceTime call. I used it on my FaceTime call with Eric so that instead of my little webcam on the front of my laptop, I could use my nice EOS R and just have nice clear video. You can use it for everything. And it literally is just plug it in and then it works. No drivers, no anything. They even have free software. I think it's called Game Capture. You could just download right now from their website, which is kind of like OBS. So it lets you take in a source, set your streaming stuff, your audio, and then send it out to your channel on whatever platform, which is amazing because OBS isn't currently updated with macOS Catalina. So if you're using the newest version of macOS, live streaming's like kind of hard because OBS isn't working yet for it. So anyway, this thing is like about $100. It's like amazing. I can't believe how well it works, and I can't recommend enough. Again, I'll do a whole video about it, but this week this has been like my gear of the week. Now that we're kind of in the holiday season, you can probably find some pretty decent deals on it. I'll put a link down in the description for this show too. But that thing has been like, I have not shut up about it for a while, and that is my gear of the week. I need a gear of the week jingle where it's like gear of the week. Da, 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 da. I don't know. Do you have anything gear of the week, Heather? I know you're not a gear person as much as I am, but you might have something that's exciting.
Yeah. If for some reason, I still can't believe people haven't heard of this if they haven't already, but canva.com. It's a free graphic design tool. I use it pretty much every single day to create so many things for my business, from YouTube thumbnails to pictures for my email to social media posts to everything. And they just came out with a new feature where you can do animated videos for social media that are like template.
Oh.
Yeah, so, if there's like text and there's like a cool spinny thing in the back or whatever, I haven't quite taken a dive into it, but it's all free. Yeah, so check it out, canva.com, canva.com, not sponsored.
Yeah, so if you don't have access to Photoshop, or even if you do, but you just don't want to spend the time on it. I know you totally have access to it, but you just refuse. So Canva works great. You make amazing looking stuff with it. You've done tutorials on Canva, so it's shockingly powerful. Sometimes when I watch your tutorials, I'm like, oh, that looks so much easier than the way I'm doing things. So anyway, Canva and Elgato Cam Link 4K, and Canva's totally free. So yeah, there we go. Well, thanks for spending part of our Thanksgiving Day recording this podcast, because that's what people do in 2019. Where can people find you?
youtube.com/ShareSparkMedia.
Cool. And links, of course, are down in the description. I'm Tom. You can always find me at SoDarnTom on Twitter and Instagram. And, of course, Tom at enthusiasmproject.com, or just good old youtube.com/theenthusiasmproject. Thanks so much for listening. Give me your feedback. Let me know your thoughts, feelings, ideas, and I will see you next time.